Countdown to 9.
Doing the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Countdown to 9 podcast, counting down one movie in the Star Wars universe per month until we get to The Rise of Skywalker. We're clear of the prequels and moving on chronologically to what's next, and that's Solo, a Star Wars story, taking up the whole hour this month. Paul Preston here from the Movie Guys in the balmy confines of the Admirals Club in Burbank, California. Amid the whir of air conditioners and swamp coolers, you'll hear them in the background because suddenly it's summer. It just happened. On
Boom,
I was
baby.
Bringing my patio furniture in and out. Didn't know if it was going to rain or what, and suddenly, bam, it's brutal heat.
Welcome to California.
Enjoy the hum underneath our voices. I'm here alongside Sean Blodgett of the mighty Creative Motion Entertainment.
Oh, yeah, bringing all types of different media to all kinds of different screens. You know, small, big, all that stuff. That's a whole different
As of
thing.
this taping, we are 27 weeks and 3 days away from Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. That's 192 days. Which sounds better? 192.
I don't know. I like 192 days right now because it's getting closer. I'm getting more excited. The anticipation is building. Nobody's going to say it. Really? Come on.
Oh. Well, let's get to it. Let's not leave our guest out because I don't know if he knows he wants to say stuff. And I want him to yell out.
Of course, he can
likes.
say whatever he wants. Absolutely.
I'm waiting.
No, you go right ahead. Jump in.
Joining us in this month's talk of all things Solo is the author of Why We Love Star Wars, The Great Moments That Built a Galaxy Far, Far Away, now available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and more. He's a movie talk force to be reckoned with, no pun intended, on pop culture shows all over the web, including Collider, Movie Talk, Force Center, and the Movie Trivia Schmodown. It's Ken Napzok, everybody!
Woo! So happy to be here and happy that I can talk. I don't want to ever step over intros. I can't step over intros.
No, it's all good. It's all good. We're so excited you're here, man. I'm
excited
so
to be
excited. We had a chance to take a glimpse in the book, and I just love the spirit of it. I mean, I know we're going to get into it more, but the energy that you wrote that book in is the reason that I certainly wanted to start doing this podcast. Is the celebration of Star Wars, because I mean it's beyond a cultural phenomenon. It's just joy. I think it's just joy.
It's joy. It's life.
Yeah, it is. I agree. Which, by the way, is what pisses some people off because of, there's life in The Last Jedi. But we'll get to that later. I always love bringing that one
Let's
up.
do it.
Ken loves all the movies.
Last Jedi is my second favorite Star Wars film.
Yeah!
Is this number one?
No, but this is, I love this one, so why I'm doing it.
Solo. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Can I just jump in real quick and say,
Yeah.
so out of all the Star Wars movies, this is the one I know the least. I mean, obviously it's a newer one and all that stuff, but it's the one I knew the least. And so when we got to this episode, I'm like, oh, I need to watch this again. I need to really, because some of the other ones are like, Jar Jar Binks, okay, yeah, whatever. I went back and I watched it and I'm like, I really had a great time. Like, I truly, truly enjoyed it. I feel like they captured the fun of Star Wars in this movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, if you agree, disagree with any of us, please chime in at themovieguys.net, countdown to 9 at gmail.com, at countdown to 9, pretty much everywhere across social media. And before we get to Solo, a Star Wars story, there's always something that goes on right when we're taping one of these episodes, something big in the Star Wars universe, whether it's Celebration or Peter Mayhew's passing. Last time we talked about that. This time, we must talk about the grand opening of Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. Now, unless you're living in a Wampa cave, you're probably well aware that Galaxy's Edge is the official name for what's been called Star Wars Land by fans, and it soft opened in California on Memorial Day and is opening for Labor Day weekend in Florida. Ken, did you go?
Haven't had a chance to go yet.
Haven't gone yet?
I'm eagerly anticipating. Both rides aren't open yet in Anaheim, Rise of Resistance and Smuggler's Run. So I'm waiting for the crowds to die down just a little bit so I can enjoy it a little bit more.
I went to Employee Day.
Gotcha.
So a buddy of mine got me in. And, only one of the two rides is open.
Right.
But they did something cool that I hear that they're doing with actual patrons.
Okay.
We went in 4-hour windows. 3 hours in, the next group would come in, so there's an hour overlap. And, man, it made getting through things great.
Better.
Because you probably saw the promotional photo of the Millennium Falcon with the dad and the daughter, and they're looking at the Falcon. It's like, it will never, ever look like this.
Yeah.
But every crowd was manageable.
That's great.
That's really cool.
That's good.
Yeah. I can't wait to go. I had a possible opportunity of going, and I was going to go solo, and I told my wife and kids, I'm like, hey, I might have this opportunity, and they looked at me like this. Just complete disdain. And I was just like,
No.
Or I could put it off a bit. You know what? We should go as a family. We should definitely go as a family.
Family's
so no, I
important
want to
in
go with
Star
them
Wars.
anyway too, because
Yeah.
I mean they're fans too, so I want
Love
them to
it.
enjoy it. So
Yeah.
And I think the slow rollout won't just be the ride, the second ride, but many other things as well. Like when I was there, I didn't see Rey or didn't see any huge interactions with characters. There were moments that happened. Kylo yelled at some guys and choked them, and Chewie was working on a ship and all that, and he had a little thing where he tried to get people to help him fix the ship.
Right.
But I've seen video now of Rey guiding little kids all through the land, hiding behind things, trying to have the kids use the Force against some First Order troopers who come around the
That's
corner.
cool.
So it seems like there's going to be a lot
wow.
of cool interactive ones. And the production design is the big win.
Yeah.
If you just
yeah.
want to feel like you're in Star Wars.
Okay.
And they specifically made it Batuu, a world that's not of canon,
Right.
Star Wars. Currently, the Disney rep said so you can have your own Star Wars adventure.
Right.
But is that going to be in Episode 9?
Well, no, it's mentioned in Solo, and there's comics and books with it now.
Oh, is that right?
Okay.
Yeah, but
okay.
it was they chose what you're describing is what they wanted, an entire new planet, but you can just go in there and create your own adventures because it's not Endor. It's
Right,
not,
right.
You know, you're not lost in that. Chief Chirpa would have been, basically. Yeah.
Admiral Piet would have come to my aid here.
That damn Chief Turpo!
But there seems to be an area that's sort of taken over by the First Order, and then there's, if you go through to where the Rise of the Resistance ride is, it seems like over in that area maybe not so much. So you kind of have but what's cool is I was just talking about the lightsabers at this place where you can build your own lightsaber for $200.
Yeah.
I walked away with no swag.
Yeah.
But I was like, these are the parts of the lightsaber, and the guy was like, shh. They were listening to it. Like the guy in retail was playing a part of the First Order is listening to us. We need to talk about these sabers
I
on the
want
down
that.
low.
That's what I'm looking
And that was
forward to.
great.
There's a resistance spy character that's roaming around named V. Marathi, and I'm desperate to find her and have a conversation with her and pull her aside and be like, hey, I've got the plans.
How do you know about this?
It was announced. She's a character in the Phasma novel.
Everyone's going to be looking for it.
Oh my God, that's incredible! I can't
a-
believe it's this
Yeah.
immersive.
I had a couple friends that went, and they started, and they're book fans like me, and I mentioned it, and she was like, "You're not very careful, are you? Like, I can't get discovered." So they're in it, man.
What?
What's her name?
V. Marathi
Yeah.
or Vi.
Are they-
V.I. Marathi.
Are they on the street like, hey, V? Like, shut up. Before you can throw them in the brig. The ride itself, Smuggler's Run, was pretty cool.
Okay.
Biggest line was the cantina, as I said. Which
Oh, yeah.
I wish they had a band. They got a DJ, but that's life. I wish there were more bands than DJs in life.
That's
I'm surprised they don't have a band. I feel like that maybe that's gonna come.
Yeah, so you got a robot. It's the robot from Star Wars, actually.
Oh,
Those
yeah,
spinning
yeah, yeah.
tunes.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's for the. It's,
Oh,
yeah.
that's kind of a nice
Paul Rubens. Yeah.
reference.
Okay.
I like that. That's,
And you've seen the Millennium Falcon in photos.
Yes.
There's more than one ship, too.
Okay.
Which I won't say what there is, but it's kind of cool for photo op. Again, photo ops off the chart.
I mean,
you'll be
seriously,
taking them all day.
for me, just the opportunity to be in front of the Millennium Falcon,
Yeah.
see it in real life.
Absolutely.
I could do that and
Yeah.
be like, I'm good. Let's go get a corn dog.
Absolutely.
Some people want 3-4 rides or something. But if you have that mindset, the place will be a win for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. That's awesome.
Stuff.
And also, anything new about Episode 9 since last time we talked? You were at Celebration, weren't you?
I was a Celebration. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Anything new in the last couple?
Since then we heard obviously the trailer, the title.
Hey,
Vanity Fair photos.
Since you were there, I was
Yeah.
going to bring up the Vanity Fair thing, but since you were there,
Yeah.
what was your take on the reaction of the trailer?
It was just an amazing reaction, and
Nice.
the next day I've told the story a couple spots, but it's worth sharing. The next day, so the Friday morning was the trailer, and then obviously it's going to be hyped in the panel.
Sure.
The panels, Colbert was hosting it, which was fine, but it's like they all have that rhythm now. JJ, could you tell us anything? Oh, I'm not going to, Steve. Do you want a trailer? Like. We get it.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. Anthony Daniels does a one-man show that no one wants him to do. Kathleen Kennedy getting visibly annoyed at Anthony Daniels was worth the price of admission.
Oh, that's funny.
He often does a one-man show at these cons.
Does.
But when you put him with other
Yeah.
people, he's got to rein it in.
And he's great. Who doesn't love 3PO? But it's fun. It was the next day. So I was on the convention floor roaming around with my podcast partner, Joseph Scrimshaw. We're just kind of shopping, checking toys out, and the Star Wars show was doing live shows from the center stage, and they went to break. And so while they're going to break, the trailer starts to play, and one by one, fans stopped and started to gather to watch it all again, and they were cheering and hooting and hollering in this minute-and-a-half trailer, and I started to get like teary-eyed because I'm like, you can't tell me the joy's not there, man.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me. It just was a really organic experience versus a convention hall arena where we're all there for the panel. This was just like, oh, I'm eating a corn dog. Let me go watch this trailer.
Right.
And it was really special to see.
That's really awesome.
It was really, that was my highlight.
I'm so happy. When we talked about it at the last episode, we were both so struck by the music. I mean, that music is just...
Williams is an overdrive in that trailer. It's just... It's epic.
He's taking it home.
It's so emotive. You know, to me, it's just beautiful. Yeah.
Well, and then the Vanity Fair picks you said are new as well.
I actually had a chance to look at the Vanity Fair. There's like a video, behind the scenes kind of thing and stuff. And I mean, it's funny because it's just, I mean, that's very well planned out. Yeah. I mean, it's just behind the scenes of a moment we saw in the trailer, and you're like, wow, that y'all had a good plan.
Yeah.
But it was cool to see Kerry Russell's character. She looks kind of mysterious and cool. I don't know what she's up to.
Bliss. I forget her first name. I always confuse her with professional wrestler Alexa Bliss, and that's not her name. That's not her character name. Last name is Bliss.
Not the Star Wars universe
Zori
name.
Bliss or something like that. Yeah.
If you think a movie called Solo: A Star Wars Story is about a Cantina band member who goes rogue and does a 135-minute solo on the clue horn, you're wrong. Let's get people caught up on just what Solo: A Star Wars Story is actually about. Now, I've always thought that if I wanted to see young Han Solo, I'd just watch 1977 Star Wars. But apparently, there was a call that he'd be even younger, so we get this prequel, Solo: A Star Wars Backstory, about an orphaned Han on the planet Corellia. And it begins the way they all do. No, it doesn't. It begins like this. Yes, apparently, John Williams, your services will not be needed at the top of the film. The movie gets right to it with our hero Han attempting to escape the crime slums of Corellia with his girlfriend, Kira. No, Kira. That's not Kira.
The slums of Corellia are run by a gang lord named Lady Proxima.
Sean, if you ever get a rash on your nads, take Proxima. I took Proxima for a week and it went away. I mean, that happened to a friend.
Proxima is played by Linda Hunt, or maybe just voiced by Linda Hunt. Not sure. I'll have to take a closer look next time.
Now, Han bribes an Imperial Guard with coaxium, a much sought-after hyperspace fuel, and then allows him to escape Corellia. But Kira is separated from him. He vows to return to her and calls upon the Empire. 800. That's not that one. It's this one. Although they're both pretty shady.
Whoa. Wait, the Empire? The bad guys?
Yes, this movie's a Rogue One. Except for Rogue One.
Luckily, he gets a job, an opportunity to learn how to be the greatest pilot in the galaxy. And he also gets a last name given to him by an Imperial recruiting officer.
What's your name, son?
Han.
What? Who are your people?
I don't have people. I'm alone.
Solo. Approved.
Have your people call my people.
Yes. You know, as people, I searched have your people call my people. You know what came up?
What?
Someone with a lot of time on their hands edited together all the times they talk about people in a Tomb Raider game.
I understand what it's like to lose people.
Many of my people live in those ruins.
There's no sign of your people. We're losing too many people. Maybe your people have sacrificed enough.
Who has that kind of time?
My people will die to protect it.
How many hits does that video have?
Anyway, Chewie also got his name circumstantially when he was an orphan Wookiee. Someone asked him his name and he was eating.
Is that where we're going to insert crickets? I'm just kidding. I love that bit. Anyway, back to our story. Han gets thrown out of the flight academy for having a mind of his own and gets thrown into the infantry. There, he comes across a pirate named Beckett and his group of scallywags.
Oh, great word. A group of ruffians.
Hooligans!
A ragtag group of ne'er-do-wells.
Is there any other kind.
Anyway, these miscreants might be his ticket out of yet another jam. Being the ever-youthful optimist and not yet having grown into the bitter Han Solo we all know and love, he meets Chewbacca and they join the group of reprobates and become a part of the greatest space train heist in history. Maybe not the greatest.
Sorry.
I turn it down, that means you talk. Otherwise, I turn it back up.
Turns out the group of knaves are out to heist some precious coaxium so they can pay crime boss Dryden Vos.
You know, Sean, if you get a serious case of Dryden Vos anywhere near your nads, Proxima will clear that up. For me, the turnaround was like overnight. I mean, that happened to a friend.
As heist 2, the heist goes wrong.
You're gonna be okay! Now say it! You're gonna be okay! You're gonna be okay!
But luckily, they have young, naive, happy-go-lucky, somewhat cocky, but ever the optimist Han to renegotiate with Dryden to let them get the coaxium from a mine on Kessel.
Kessel Run reference imminent.
You're going to get that.
I love that the fantasy space fuel of a faraway land has a similar name to a super low-tech cable that can bring you TV programming you don't even want anymore.
You know, fun fact, Sean, in an early version of the Solo script by James Cameron, the hyperspace fuel was called Go Real Fastium.
That sounds unobtainium-ish.
Yes. Yes, right there with the explanation. Thank you, Sean.
In case you didn't know that reference. Dryden insists that Han be accompanied by the new top lieutenant in his crime organization, Crimson Dawn, a woman named Kira.
What?
That's right, she's alive, beautiful as ever, and now super powerful.
Dracarys.
They now need a fast ship to complete the reheist, as no one is calling it, and Kira leads them to accomplished smuggler and pilot Lando Calrissian, and tries to win Lando's ship, the Millennium Falcon, in Sabak, but loses it to the slick Lando.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Eventually, Lando agrees to be part of the crew, and the adventure begins, or continues, really.
Han, Lando, and company arrive on Kessel.
Kessel Run reference imminent.
And infiltrate the mine. They steal the coaxium, and Han Solo...
What, Sean? What does Han Solo do?
He pilots the Kessel Run in 12 parsecs.
Oh, thank God! You can't go without mentioning that. They bring it up. Anyway, well, you just can't have a Han Solo movie without that reference. And upon returning to the coaxium to Dryden, Han becomes sympathetic to the anti-Empire cause and tries to trick Vos.
What?
But it's Beckett who does the double cross.
What?
But then Beckett betrays Vos.
What?
And then Kira betrays Vos.
What?
Are you still with me?
What?
I said, are you following me?
What?
Can you hear me?
What?
Wait, do you get what's happening?
What?
All right, eventually, Kira contacts Vos's boss,
Moses supposes.
who is Darth Maul, who is also dead, but not anymore. Something apparently happened on a TV show I don't watch.
Eventually, Han shoots Beckett for all the annoying double crosses, and he gives the coaxium to a group of rebels.
He then revisits Lando and tries to win the Falcon back, and he blaves him.
And as we all know, to blave means to bluff. Huh? So you're probably playing cards, and he cheated.
Han and Chewie blast off to Tatooine in the Falcon, and as we hit light speed, the movie ends as all the others do.
Oh, it does. That's right. It started different, but it ends the same.
Man.
In case you forgot what the movie was about. That's
Right. That's it.
pretty accurate,
Yeah.
I thought.
I think that was right on. You want to jump in?
What do you mean?
I mean, you know, into the water, into the deep.
Sean, do you have a topic you'd like to discuss?
I want to discuss right out of the gate that Solo was not a flop. And I really dislike when people refer to it as that.
Sean, I got numbers.
Look, the numbers...
$392 million at the box office. That is on a $275 million budget, which probably does not include marketing. So it only made $213 domestic, which is
That's only in box office.
More than The Empire Strikes Back's $1980, but less than Return of the Jedi's $1983. So that'll just teach you to not have C-3PO and R2-D2 in your movie.
Oh, that's right. That is
factor.
interesting. I didn't
That's
even
the
think
factor.
about that.
But Sean, your point.
Well, I mean, my point is this. Traditionally speaking, if we were talking about this as just a feature that somebody made, it wasn't Star Wars, and you made a movie for, let's just say $275 million, and that movie made over $300 million, you made your budget back. So to say
tell that to Ghostbusters 2016.
Right.
True. But that's not even including DVDs, Blu-rays, streaming deals. I mean, we don't know how much it made on the Netflix deal. I guess my point is, to refer to it as a flop is just not a true statement. To me, a flop is something you make a $275 million film and it makes $80 million. That's a flop.
Agreed.
Yeah, it's frustrating to me as a fan to hear that word thrown around. It's hard to deny financially the struggles. It's hard to deny some of the reaction to it. I still run into Star Wars fans who are not steeped in Star Wars Twitter. They're just fans, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I haven't watched that yet." And I'll ask why, and they're like, I don't know. I'll get to it, and it didn't have that urgency. But a lot of that, I look at Uncle Bob Iger, as we like to call him, and he kind of took some of the fall. Take the director thing aside, the marketing issue, where big box stores had to put Avengers Endgame stuff out up until weeks before Solo came out, and so Disney
Infinity War, yeah,
Infinity War. Excuse me. They were working against themselves.
I totally
agree. They
agree.
didn't create the urgency for the movie. And then when you go see it, and if you're just a casual fan, it lacks the big, epic, ticking clock type of thing. It has a smaller one, but there's no super weapon. There's no that. And I think people came out kind of going, so I argue, I think artistically, even with the director issues, that it is more rewarding than people give it credit for. But yeah,
I think they should.
I'm with you on just it got tossed offside too quickly.
And I also think it coming literally off the heels of The Last Jedi and the drama that surrounded that film, but more importantly, the release dates being so close together. I just don't think it helped. And on top of that, the piece of the puzzle that everybody I think leaves out is people talk about, Last Jedi didn't make as much money as Force Awakens. Well, in my opinion, it's not going to, because everybody was so excited about Force Awakens. Like, what is this movie going to be? It's Star Wars, but it's Disney, and now, what is this? And George isn't at the helm. And I mean, everybody was so interested. And then when you saw the first trailer, like, holy crap, this looks really good. There was so much anticipation. Of course, it's not going to make the same amount of money.
$600 million. Like, no one's going to call that one a flop.
Right.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, okay. So to the point though, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, was also had on its side. I think it was the first a Star Wars story. It was the first time we were going to get a chance. Like, what are these going to be? Are we going to see? Are we going to see an opening scroll? Are we going to see? I mean, there's all these questions that we as fans had. And so then they got answered, some to some people's delight, some to not. But now you've got Solo, and you're like, okay, it's another Star Wars movie, and I just saw a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
I'm kind of good, and it's a Star Wars story, so the import of it, and then, I love Han Solo, but for some people it's like...
Is that the crux for some people? This is not an episode. This is a story. Not so much into stories. I like episodes.
Yeah,
I like stories.
I think for some people they're more into the saga than they are into the story movies. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but I mean,
it's true. And in casual way, I hear a lot of, we didn't ask for this movie. Well, you didn't ask for any movie. You're gonna get it.
Yeah, I don't like that statement.
Either, but I understand the sentiment behind it. But I would push back on it. But but it was a big. There was nothing working for this. For this movie, unfortunately, before it even hit the screen.
I wish they would have shelved it for a little bit. Personally,
the original December release date, right? Well, they got confused. I think this one did get pushed back. It was supposed to be December, pushed up, I should say. I can't remember. They've switched them around because 9 was eventually moved back to December too.
Right.
As the director changed. So I don't know.
And an unfortunate byproduct of not going December with Star Wars is Aquaman kind of gets more eyes on it. It makes more money, and now DC feels good about their movies. And thanks a lot, Star Wars.
And now they're like, let's recast Batman.
Give false hope to a company. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for me, the whole thing with I always say when Miller and Lord won their Oscar for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I said, wow, think of the solo movie we could have had. You're the expert, you're the pro. What happened behind the scenes where Ron Howard comes in as to take over for these guys after their firing?
Yeah, I get that sense too. I like a lot of what they do. Big fan of Last Man on Earth, which they had a lot to do with. Though I think I'm more of a fan of Will Forte than them. I don't know. I can speak in rumors that they've heard, but those are rumors, and none of us are in those meetings. But it just didn't seem to be working from the start, including who may have selected them to be the directors versus who was supposed to work with them. There might have been some Uncle Bob decisions in that. There's that one story of the crew clapping when they heard they got fired or whatever. I don't believe that 100%, but I've also heard some people tell me, not as untrue as you thought. But then...
By the way, if I can jump into that, from the rumors I read online doing research for this, lot of improv, which is, is fine if you're doing certain movies, but that's not necessarily the methodology that you can go down when you've got, a Star Wars
I don't know,
film.
with a Dreamcatcher Lawrence Kasdan script, you can do improv.
Well, the Kasdan was a factor. Don't run afoul of Larry.
Yeah.
And I hear tell again. I really, I hate throwing things out there, but I hear tell that they had an idea and the Kasdans had an idea, and that a lot of the improv you heard about, which is, we all know we're in production.
Sure.
You're going to do, let's do a take. Go crazy, Paul.
Yeah.
Do a take, Paul. Grab a lightsaber. A lot of them, some of the improv might have been to get back to their story versus sticking with Larry and John's, and therein lies the friction.
Oh,
something happened. So some of these rumors I hear, I toss them out because who knows? It's a grip being.
But I want to tell you my favorite.
Yeah.
I heard that then they were told to stay on script, so they went and did takes where they literally were saying just the lines, like not even any emotion behind them. They had the actors just like say and read the lines.
Yeah.
I read
and then
that
they would
too.
send the dailies back like, there you go. Like, this is wiseassery on an unknown level.
I heard stuff. Again, I heard stuff. I heard stuff down at the local cafe.
Right.
I heard stuff that one producer was
At the
hiding.
Coral.
Yeah, at the Coral Cafe here, Burbank. That one producer was hiding Kathleen Kennedy's notes from them. That I heard.
Oh wow.
Alden Ehret called not to tattle on them, but to basically accept being fired.
So we don't have a definitive.
We don't know,
story.
and we never will, because I'm sure
No.
there's an agreement in place that sides can't talk about. And I think most of the cast and crew is very nice and of both sides.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm sure they would have made a great solo film if they would have been able to finish
it. And it's a question we're always going to have.
Yeah.
Emilia Clarke, I saw one tweet or comment or interview, things come out where, she said her biggest direction of her character initially was just, be femme fatale. She's like, that's not direction. And maybe Ron Howard she was the first one he kind of had to meet with to get back on board. So but again, there's always going to be conflict on films. Always going to be. We hear that something happened.
Well,
we'll see.
I want to say this too, and that is, I think Ron Howard did a fantastic job. One of my favorite things about Ron Howard as a director is I believe he can direct anything. I wouldn't say that he's necessarily a director that has a specific style, like he's not like a Kubrick style director or something. Like very rarely you're like, oh, that is definitely Ron Howard, because you can tell by the style, right? But what he is amazing at doing, I think, is making a clean motion picture that is well made, that the points and the beats are all there, the coverage is what it needs to be. And he captures it all in a very dynamic way. And honestly, watching the film again, I was blown away by how great it looked. It looks beautiful. Which, by the way, I want to talk about the DP later too.
Bradford Young. Yeah, I want to talk about the two.
Yeah.
It gets. I understand some of the. Depending on the theater you saw it, you had a different experience than other people. It's weird.
Oh, that's interesting.
Kind of like the.
Well, it is a less grazery looking Ron Howard movie
It
than
is.
most.
Yeah. no,
It's that
Brian
grazerian sheen is not on top like you often get.
I agree. I looked at Ron Howard as that old offensive coordinator who gets brought in when the young coach gets fired and he needs to just bring the team in home for that season.
Yep.
Like, I'll come in, I'll calm the locker room down, and we'll get you to a game.
I'm the Willow guy.
Yeah.
You love me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
we do. He's right.
Yeah, I
we
mean,
do love Willow.
70. I think it was 70 to 80% of the film they reshot.
That
was the statistic I heard, which does mean that we did.
And that adds to the budget, which.
Absolutely, which is my other argument, which is how many movies do you know that got shot twice and then released?
There's even a Clint Howard cameo, which truly stamps the signature that it's a Ron Howard movie.
Yes.
Rala Keeley, potentially relative or brother of Malakili, the Rancor Keeper.
Are you serious? I didn't know that. Oh, that's so good.
I love how all this
it.
goes on without the world knowing it at all.
That's okay, though.
It's just in a little
That's the inside stuff that I think is brilliant. You know what I mean?
He's not the only familiar face. Darth Maul shows up.
Yeah.
Now, I only watch the movies. You watch everything.
I watch everything. So I want your perspective. Give it to me.
Well, I went, he's dead. What are we doing? That was my perspective. Cut in half. I don't care if there's a little, a sewing across his midsection where someone took a needle and thread. Guy's dead. I mean, I could see a ghost, and it kind of was like a ghost Maul in a way, but I haven't seen any Force ghosts who've been Sith, so it was weird.
I'm fascinated by that. It was an interesting choice by them because there is a divide. There's always going to be a divide between the books, the comics, shows, video games, and people like me who know Rala Keeley as a character's name versus, you're a fan. I look around here. You're a fan. Yeah. And if you didn't happen to watch Clone Wars, that's not your fault. For them to make that choice, I love the choice. It really does fit in.
And Star Wars Rebels.
And Star Wars Rebels.
Yep.
It really does fit into the new canon and the timeline. But my girlfriend, an example, too. That's her favorite character. And when we walked out of the theater the first time she saw it, she's like, I'm confused. I thought this was after Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I immediately went to timeline as well.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, no. Oh, yeah, no. He came back. He came back.
Yeah.
Which was George Lucas's idea to bring him back. So it's interesting. I like the choice, but I'm fascinated by the perspective because you're not alone.
Well, he's a fan favorite.
Yeah.
I
maybe
absolutely
it was
loved
what we have to do to bring him back. Bring him back.
I loved the surprise of it.
And
I thought
were you familiar with?
I
the
was
stuff?
slightly familiar with because
So
I
you're
watched.
not 100%
I like
surprised,
Star Wars
yeah.
Rebels. I'm not a huge fan of Clone Wars, but I really like the Star Wars Rebels series. I haven't seen all of it, but I saw enough, and I had seen some episodes with Darth Maul. And I was like, oh, and I loved what they did with his character in that. I mean, he really moved towards this space of not really a Sith, not really.
He's
definitely not.
just Maul.
He's just really Maul. He's just but he still uses the Force, and he's obviously super powerful.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's interesting what Disney is doing to tie some of the animated series into the live action movies. There's been some talk that there might be a possibility we're going to maybe see an Ezra in episode 9, and
people always want that. We'll see. My pushback to that is J.J. Abrams doesn't watch those shows.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think he works closely with the story group where Rian Johnson did. And a lot of the story group and even Sam Witwer, who voices Maul, had some thoughts on Solo and stuff like that. There's John Kasdan, who was the one. There's a great conversation with Lawrence Kasdan, like, John wanted me to put all these things in. I told him I created Star Wars. With George, I don't know this stuff. And John's like, well, in this book, and this book, and this book, a lot of that's in Solo, but I don't think JJ cares.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Well, I will say episode 9 is looking more and more like it's going to be a small band of people that we're going to be really following in the end.
Well, yeah, it looked that way at the end of Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Well, nobody left.
Yeah, they're like, I think I'm just going to get an apartment somewhere. I'm totally good, guys,
But one thing I got to bring this up because I always do. Mm-hmm. What's with the dice?
You just looked at that in the notes, and I
added an expletive.
Yes.
But because here's the deal, as I know it, of the history of Han's dice. Yeah. They were Bob Falfa's dice on his car in American Graffiti. And Lucas said, hey, it would be fun. A little inside thing, you stick them in the Falcon, right? So then we have this whole series of movies. Han dies. And now at the end of Jedi, Luke gives Leia the dice. Well, then we learn eventually that the dice are all about this woman, Kira. So Luke is really saying, hey, here's dice from another girl that Han may have loved more than you. Anyway, gotta go. So now they double down on that and show us so much dice. It's the final shot of Solo. It's the dice. I'm like, but the dice are dumb. Wait, the dice don't mean anything. Come on.
Well,
but the dice.
I mean, there's a big payoff in The Last Jedi with them, I think, and also I don't personally interpret it that the dice are tied to his love for Kira. The dice are tied to a feeling of we're going to get through this. This is for good luck. It's it's nothing more than a good luck charm.
He does have him at the beginning of Solo, but without a doubt, if he's holding him, he's probably at one point thinking of that. Well, there was that one night with Kira. He's and especially because a lot of legends, the legend stories, and I'm not a huge Legends fan, but it was always kind of like, oh, those are the dice Han used to win the Falcon. Well, now in this story we see it's not. I have a question about that too.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think they went in a little weird different direction, but. It is going. It's funny, and I love what J.J. Abrams did in Force Awakens. I got to make sure that's out there for context. I was just talking about this today at lunch with a friend of mine, Alex, over at Black Series Rebel Star Wars show. J.J. put a scene in Force Awakens where Han puts the dice back on the Falcon. It kind of has this moment, and then so Luke comes back, grabs them, because
that's interesting.
Ryan writing Episode 8. While Episode 7's shooting, so he has the script, and I was like, oh, great scene. Those dice. Yeah, I'm going to connect to that. Well, then JJ cuts it from the movie. Now Ryan's left holding this whole dice plot that also is factored into Solo. So I always I wonder, I'm not taking away what you feel, but
I get everything you're saying.
If old Han had said, oh, yeah, these dice, because we all, as fans...
Did they shoot that?
But yeah, they shot it. And we would have been like, oh yeah, the dice from Episode 4, yeah, that they Chewie hits his head.
Why didn't they put that in? I mean, they knew these were coming.
JJ.
I mean, oh my god.
Original trilogy Han never gave a crap about the dice. So why even have it? I would cut it too. I'd go, well, we got the dice and we're
pacing and
It's an inside joke between Lucas and Ford.
I mean, I haven't seen the scene, but I mean, in Force Awakens terms, it could have just been a throwaway quick scene, like, hey, this is my Millennium Falcon.
He walks back
this is my ship, and I've got it back. I'm putting my dice on. Like, it's like putting the welcome mat out.
It's a great shot when he goes into the Falcon like that. That's in there, and it's part of that sequence. And I think he just
man,
And again, some people will criticize, hey, maybe they didn't coordinate as much. Yeah, I sometimes fight against that, but yeah, that's one of those things. I'm like, if I'm Ryan in the theater at the Episode 7 premiere, I'm going.
Oh my god!
Let's get to the tech aspects of this movie because it just came out last year, so it's going to be obviously the state of the art and everything. Even though it's making an old school feel because obviously it's so long ago in the timeline compared to the other movies. And you want to talk about Bradford Young's work as the DP.
I just saw a small snippet behind the scenes thing with him, but I loved that he wanted to light with like source lights, that like he very specific, like if there's a light, that's what's lighting them. It's not like, oh, here's a light I see and then there's like 6 different lights that you don't see off camera. It's like what you see on camera is what is lighting them.
It's clear a lot. It's a dark movie.
It's a dark movie, but I think it's interesting and beautiful, and there's moments where they like move in and out of the darkness, and I think it's such a natural way, much more natural than I think any other Star Wars film in terms of that.
It's my favorite looking Star Wars film.
Yeah.
Ford Ipso and Van Dor, I think it was mostly, but I think that's the clip, the behind the scenes clip they really focus on, where that's the light. And after the first 2 times I saw it,
that's where the sabacc is.
Yeah. After the first 2 times I saw it, I came out and I heard some critiques that it was too dark, too blue, and I was just like, who are these nutballs? What are you talking about? And the 3rd time I saw it at a different theater, I couldn't see much of the first 5 minutes, and I went, oh, that's what's going on.
Interesting.
So we just went through this recently with Game of Thrones, where I had literally no problem with The Long Night. It's like, oh, it's shot intentionally dark, and then saw it a friend and he couldn't see anything, and I totally, it's not craziness, it's just like, oh, with the way we're shooting things now, we got to be careful how we show them, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
So I
mean, there's a problem with, this is one of my complaints about, HDR, high dynamic range, and sometimes high dynamic range stuff looks great, and sometimes to me, like, you shoot stuff with, people are so concerned about dynamic range, and then it, sometimes it just looks really flat, and to me, really boring. You don't have a lot of contrast. You don't have, sometimes when I'm color grading something, just stylistically, maybe I want to crush the dark colors. I want to, I want to get things to pop more or whatever. And there's something interesting, but you do that and you lose that dynamic range.
Right.
But obviously, if you're crushing everything and you're pulling that down, I mean, I would think, I'm I know that when they color graded this, that they stayed within the legal, levels and ranges and all of that stuff. But the problem is you have no control over the end user, and every TV, every phone, some phones look really saturated. We were just watching Solo a little bit on your television just now, and I could see a lot more of that dynamic range than when I was watching it a little bit on my iPhone.
Right.
So I can see why people complained about that.
Totally.
The same thing happened with DVDs. You ever burn a DVD for somebody and they're like, here you go, and it's like, I can watch it on my laptop, but I can't watch it on my computer, but on the living room it plays fine. It's like,
yeah.
You can't stop progress.
That's really, really funny.
Yeah,
right. By the way, Bradford Young shot the hell out of Arrival, a movie I love. But we also switched up composers. John Williams
Williams does stuff in this. It's listed as John Williams.
He wrote Han's theme.
Oh, I didn't know
Han's theme
that.
is John. He signed on to complete the themes. He was like, I've never given Han a theme. Let me do it. But the rest is John Powell.
John Powell, yes.
That's very interesting. Only because I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's very interesting because to me, the Han Solo theme it's like my favorite thing in the whole thing, and the rest of the music is kind of like it's good. I mean, it's good. I like it, but out of all the soundtracks, I don't know. I don't know. There's something different for me, and maybe it's just because there's so much action. There's I don't know.
Yeah, I really like it. There's a couple of the soaring one when they're flying.
Oh yeah, I do love that.
It was playing when I showed up to your guys' studio tonight, and the Cloud Riders theme.
Did he do the? Oh, I love that. Okay,
well, but that might be part of Han's theme, and he played. Right. John Powell does say he takes a lot of themes from other stuff and puts it back into it.
Right.
It's definitely more of Star Wars than Rogue One with Giacchino. I can never say his name. Giacchino, yeah. Giacchino.
If you have to say it like that,
that's the only way.
That helps you. That's how I get into every time I need to talk Scottish. I love you. I want to marry you. Right? That's right.
It's your indicator for your steel sign.
Gets you into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's some great songs, scores, and score tracks, and just music. I'll just say that in Rogue One, but it's not as Star Warsy.
I agree. I mean, I love the Rogue One soundtrack. I think it's actually one of the greatest Star Wars soundtracks.
It's good. There's some stuff at the end that's some of my favorite music.
Oh, it's just it's absolutely beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's risky. I mean, there's moments. There's some just great, beautiful stuff. And I to be honest, that musically, because I love scores, I was missing that a little bit in this film. A little bit of musical risk.
Fair.
Your outside of context listening ability is not as strong as Williams, who I could just, great thing about Galaxy's Edge, you'll get spoiled as you get spoiled in Hogsmeade over at Universal by John Williams scoring your every step. I need that everywhere I go now, and you don't get it.
I think that's a great idea, just having score. Hey, there's a business in there. There's a business in there.
But
your personal score.
There should be more anthemic score composers. Giacchino's certainly an heir to Williams. I mean, think about Up and The Incredibles, and but a lot of people. I know you were supposed to score to the moment, do all that stuff, but I like a good theme, give me a big theme. But Powell is, when people talk about How to Train Your Dragon, a lot of people talk about the music. So that's
his work in that is outstanding. I mean, I love the music in that one. So, interesting.
And back to the plot, the other. I forgot to bring up one more thing I wanted to bring up was all the backstabbing at the end. I kind of burned through it in the plot recap here, but kind of had that Mac effect for me. Now, if you don't know what the Mac effect is, my favorite movie of all time is Raiders of the Lost Ark. My least favorite movie of all time is Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And they have a character in there named Mac. Do you remember Mac?
Yes.
You do.
Is that Ray Winstone's
character?
He's
No one remembers
It's like the
Mac.
friend in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
He backstabs him.
And then he is. And then he's not. And then he is, and then you stop caring.
Yeah,
and there was a lot of that at the end of this movie that kind of went, all right, well, because Beckett especially, he's just trading alliances. I guess he's a pirate, so you don't know who to trust. But for like 4 or 5 minutes before he was switching his alliances again,
I found his switching to be interesting. It felt a little, the stuff with Kira felt a little bit like, oh, we're going here, now we're going here, now we're going here. I felt it, to me, I felt it more with her than I did with Beckett. I almost expected it from the Beckett character, my life is on the line, so I'm going to screw you over.
Look where it got
and that kind of stuff. So I don't know.
No. I totally feel what you're saying. I like what it does for the characters, but in the sense of, it's almost as if the swerves weren't meant to surprise the audience. It was meant to inform and help the characters grow and change those things. But the problem is when you're put in front of a movie theater audience and you see it coming. I think we all saw every, especially the one at Beckett at the end where there's a pause. Could you go? Voss says, "Can you come in here?" Like we're all like, "Yeah, it's Beckett." I think that does leave some fans wanting, where I think there's some great emotional lessons and all those things to the character that when I break it down and study a lot of that stuff, especially for what I was writing the book, like I love it, but I can't deny that's a great example in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull where you're like, again? Okay.
Yeah.
And it's fine, but like...
And just to recap... We don't care about Mac, right? Just making sure. Okay, thanks, audience. Back to the story and the guy we care about, right? Like,
Yeah. So I get it.
Beckett's cool, but what's Han doing?
I didn't get until literally today, and I'm like, okay, I really need to work on this. So he shoots first.
Mm-hmm.
Han.
Yeah.
Shoots
well,
first.
Don't even get me started.
I mean, but is that the lesson in that moment? And then that's the reference.
I don't think that's a casual.
You don't think that's
no. It's on purpose.
Yeah. No, I do too. But it's funny. I really didn't get that connection. I just thought, I'm just in the story. Like, he's learning this lesson. Okay, and that's why he made that choice. Okay, I didn't make that long connection of Greedo.
So if big FU to Lucas. No.
Well, yeah, it's really weird. Yeah, because again, it's Lawrence and John, and I gotta think Lawrence has some. He and Lucas were sometimes at odds over the character of Han Solo. And as much as I love George and he's the creator, capital T, capital C, the Han shooting first, and then now where it lies after the 2011 redo, they shoot simultaneously, and Greedo's just a bad shot.
Do they really?
Yeah, Greedo's just a bad shot. Because George was seen, I think, on set of some of the prequel movies wearing the Han shot first shirt. He was very aware of what it. Of the
that's funny that he did that.
So I like
that makes me love him even more.
And it's George's George. He don't care. But
now more than ever he doesn't care.
Yeah. Now more than ever.
Sold. It's
exactly. And absolutely to me, it was that was a specific moment that I wrote about. So I really love. It syncs up to that. It's the same Han that walks into that cantina years later, where that's still the mindset where he has to. It's survival.
Yeah. But I will say this: I love, and this is something I loved about the movie in general. We get to see Han as the bright-eyed young guy who is hopeful about life, and I loved the moment when he's like, I have a really good feeling about this. I was like, what a great way to reference that line that's in all the other movies, but not say that line again. Yeah, give it some kind of new life, a new take. I thought that was so fun, and I thought it was fun to watch him. Yeah. And even at the end, after he shot Beckett, they have a nice, honest moment. I think. Yeah. I think I never know how to say his name. Alden
Ehrenreich. Yeah.
Alden Ehrenreich. I think he was fantastic. I really did.
I have been burned at the stake for this. I think Alden Ehrenreich was a better Han Solo than Harrison Ford in Return of the Jedi.
Wow!
I'm not saying Force Awakens is some of my favorite Han. Not saying Empire. Not saying New Hope. I'm saying Return of the Jedi when Harrison was asleep.
I will go with you that the chart has Star Wars Han at top, Luke at bottom. And they do this.
They do.
Right?
Yeah.
By Jedi, Hamill is outstanding.
Yes.
And Han is cartoonish.
Yeah.
He's in the cartoonish plot, though, sadly. The Ewok plot, I don't think that's going to help us very. Like, he's doing that whole thing.
The 3 taps on 3PO. So, yeah, and that's,
I love that moment. Come on. Well, yeah. I love that moment.
And Han's my guy. I'm a Han guy. I've grown up a Han guy. I really push back on the thought that Alden's Han is not the same Han. I really do.
Yeah.
And in some of the moments that are even some of the more controversial moments that not necessarily on paper aren't my favorite moments, but I think Alden Ehrenreich's eyes just convey the story for me. So I really love what he did.
I think he had some wonderful subtle moments, and he was confident in the character. I just thought he was so endearing.
Even when towards the end of the movie, when he's getting ready to leave, there's a shot and he has like his hands. There's a couple times he has his hands on his hips.
Yeah.
It is not just Han Solo. It is Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark. The shot where they're digging and he's got his hand.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's like that, and then he does a turnaround towards the end when Kira calls back to him to say, "I remember what you make me smile." He turns around and it's like, oh, that's Harrison, man, and he's not doing an impersonation, an impression. He's in the moment.
He is Han Solo.
And on all reports, that Harrison Ford loved it. Harrison Ford, I guess, watched it twice in a row. From reports.
That's awesome. I love hearing that.
He loved it so much.
I think Ehrenreich's great too. I just never thought to compare him to Jedi Han. That's an interesting comparison. That's cool.
Again, I grew up. That's the first movie I saw in theaters that I remembered. I love it. But Harrison was like, I don't want to be here. I wish they killed me off.
Yeah.
All right, I'll chase the puppets.
Speaking of things that we love from the movie,
then we'll get to the book.
I absolutely love the guy who, and I've forgotten his name offhand, the man who's playing Chewie.
Jonas Swadamo.
Thank you. He's
if you have Jonas
fantastic.
Swadamo, take proximate. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
nice pull. No, but I just think he's great. He really has captured the heart of Chewbacca, and may Peter, may Hugh rest in peace. But he absolutely captured that spirit. I think he's doing an incredible job.
Interesting you should say that, because I think the way he comes on the scene is especially interesting because he seems alien. Which technically he is.
Yeah.
But he's been such a big, warm, fuzzy second in command chum of Han's that I love the fact that he's just foreign and alien and unpredictable when he comes on the scene. Never knew he ate people. That's news.
Yeah.
Right.
But
well, you do what you do when you're hungry.
Yeah, but he was eating whatever he was eating in Endor, but people.
That was supposed to be somewhat referential to the Rancor pit and all that.
Yeah, when they meet in Return of the Jedi. Absolutely.
And seeing
Luke's a Jedi?
Yeah.
I'm out of it for a while.
Yeah. Everybody gets delusions of grandeur. Yay!
All right, you love Jedi Han. Make it a note there, Sean. All right, well, let's get on to the book. Why we love Star Wars, the great moments that built a galaxy far, far away. Give us the hook.
The hook
of the book.
Yeah, the hook. The hook of the book, man, is let's celebrate Star Wars, and what are your memories as a fan? I got 43 years of loving this movie, and it's my perspective and story, but I think it's everyone's shared story of what pulls you in, and it's not just the big, giant moments. Those are certainly there, but I write about even the things as simple as the blaster sounds, the speeder bikes, the seismic charges that attack the clones from Jango's ship. It's my favorite sound in Star Wars. Y-Wings, I write about that.
What is that?
The seismic charges attack the clones.
Oh,
it's my favorite sound.
My second favorite is the pod racer.
Thank you.
Because it's so.
Thank you.
It's so blue collar.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And Ben, it's both Ben Burt. Ben Burt,
man.
He's
such a genius.
By the way, I love the charges also, and I especially love because Ben Burt later became a picture editor for some of the movies.
Yeah.
And there was, I know in particular, that sequence with Obi-Wan and the charges and all that stuff following Jango Fett. He was really trying to figure out where does that sound come in, because we're saying it's where is that sound traveling, and should it be delayed, should it be right on spot, and I love his exploration of sound,
the absence of sound in that particular moment, and so the book is about those little moments. It's about what connects us as fans. I think anyone, any generation, and no matter what your experience and point of view, hopefully you can find some shared memories in it. It's a love letter. It's 104 love letters to Star Wars. Unapologetic.
That's beautiful.
You can go to Amazon.com and click, do the click here on the cover and read the intro, Joseph Scrimshaw's little foreword, and which is a great story about using. I don't know if you read that part, Sean, but he trying to use the Force to get a stick out of the snow as a kid. Like trying to pull the saber out of the snow.
Brilliant.
Everybody has those, and so then that's the line you use in the prologue. The moments are the reasons we love Star Wars.
Yeah,
that's absolutely true. So the moment you were hooked, you mentioned. We'll go ahead and.
Yeah, it's. So I was one when New Hope came out, and I was in a drive-in theater in my parents' Volkswagen van, so I have no memory of that. But
I love that you say that in the book. You tell this little story.
But I grew up. There's that weird period where your brain, you're aware of things, but you're not picking up. I thought Battlestar Galactica was Star Wars.
Yes.
The Dirk Benedict. I thought that's Han Solo, right?
Right.
And then leading up to Return of the Jedi in 1983, I saw the trailer at a friend's slumber party. Return of the Jedi, not Revenge of the Jedi. Jedi. It was shortly before the movie came out.
Love that story in the book as well.
And that was it. That was the moment. And that image of Luke Skywalker with the lightsaber, the green blade on top of Jabba's sail barge, stayed with me, even though it's a second. And in my mind,
I love that you thought it was this long thing, and you kept trying to find.
Where is
You're
it?
like, where is this? Where is this?
And a lot of people point out there's kind of a famous Luke Skywalker promotional photo from that era where he's on top of the sail barge, kind of leg forward, green blade.
It's on the storybook cover.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had that.
Yeah,
and
I still do.
I think over my life, I formed them into one memory. That's the moment.
I'm going to compare your book to Citizen Kane, if I may, for a moment. Citizen Kane is a brilliant movie. If you've never seen it, it always seems like so cliche. And it's brilliant, but it really is.
It is.
Not just film school and the creation of amazing filmmaking, but the story's great. And there's a monologue in there by the character Bernstein, who's talking about being on a ferry, and he looks across and he sees a girl in a white dress with a white parasol exit the ferry. Didn't even look at him, but he thinks about her every day, like every month. A month goes by where I'm not thinking about her. So it's those moments like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Same thing. I remember specifically watching Siskel and Ebert review Return of the Jedi, and it's the first time I saw a scene from that movie, like a full scene. They showed a scene. It was Han and Chewie flying with pretending to be Imperial. They're on the Imperial ship flying past the Star Destroyer, fly casual, that whole scene. And so I just remember that specifically. I said, this is my living room? This isn't my living room. When can I see this? Mom and Dad, when can I see it? Because I have the Star Destroyer memory of being a young boy in the theater with my dad. So that's the first moment. But then that Jedi moment was also one after I cried my eyes out because I wasn't aware Han wasn't killed in Empire Strikes Back.
Really impacted by that.
There's a lot going on. 7 to 13. There was a lot going on. We have tons of moments. That's what you're talking about. Yeah. When's the first time you saw Star Wars, Sean? We talk about this?
We did talk about this in the first episode, but my mom took me. I was 2.
Okay.
So I don't have memories of that, but I have memories of Empire Strikes Back. And speaking of moments, as you were saying, it's all about these moments. I have this moment with Empire Strikes Back because when we were kids, they were in the theater for, 6 months, 8 months, whatever it was. I had a cousin who was supposed to take me and my friend to go see Empire again.
Right.
And for whatever reason, we couldn't find the movie theater. It was near this mall, and he couldn't find it, and we were kids. We didn't know where anything was. And so we were walking around. We finally get to the movie theater, and the movie has been playing for an hour and a half or whatever. So we go in, and we literally walk in during the fight on Bespin, Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker. We walk in.
The big part. Yeah.
And I still was just like, just staring and just loving every single second and really having a hard time that I missed the other part of the movie.
Half battle. Yeah.
He later made that up to me. He was in the Navy and he got some sort of copy of Empire on Betamax.
Wow.
Provided that. So.
Let me burn through some of your chapters here. I'll say the name of a chapter. Just tell us real quick the moment that. Obviously the title of the chapter is the moment, but then you can tell us why it was so special to you. So I'm really just scrolling through, and we're at 59. Kylo Unchained.
Yeah, this is the throne room scene in The Last Jedi, and I do love that sequence. I love the choice of Snoke being killed there.
Oh, it's not the scene I'm thinking of. Okay.
No, you're thinking about
Temper Tantrum.
Force Awakens. This is this is from Last Jedi, and it's really I actually had a version of that didn't make the book, where it was more about the fight and him and Rey and everything like that, which I love. But I had to. It wasn't working, and my editor kind of kicked it back a few times, and they passed it around the office, and they're like, "Yeah, we didn't like this one," and that's part of the fun of writing. So you then scream and you punch your pillow and you run around the house and you drink at 2 p.m. I came back and was like, okay. I asked myself, what do I love about this scene? I love the character of Rey, but I love what's going on with Kylo. And what I like is it is Ben Solo finally in this moment taking control of his own destiny, and ain't no one gonna tell him what to do anymore. And I love this idea. If you go back, there's a lot of people meaning Han, who's important to him, good or bad, and Snoke, people he either looks up to or has looked up to. They constantly tell him one thing: take off that mask. Take off that mask. So he does, and he destroys it. In this moment, this is the figurative taking back of the mask, and I think in 9 you're going to see him rebuild the mask, which makes sense. So to me, it's Kylo Unchained, and also story-wise, without Snoke and this traditional, the big guy in the cloak hanging over our villain, now I don't know what's going to happen. Now Kylo is fully in control of his destiny, and he's getting more and more crazy, and he's losing his mind a little bit, and that starts to me at that moment. It is the moment he decides to be Kylo Ren.
Oh, I love it, and I think that is the greatest.
That's 59. What a great breakdown!
Oh my God! I mean, it's so good. I love it, and to your points, like I think that is one of the greatest fight scenes in any of the films. I think it's filled with passion. It's filled with great performances in terms of the acting, and actually, a lot of people I don't feel maybe haven't talked about this, or maybe they have. I don't know, but. There are shots and moments that literally mimic the Force dream that Rey has.
Right,
in Force Awakens. And they're very subtle. It's really subtle how he did it, but it's an intentional shot. And I'm like, all the haters of The Last Jedi, I'm like, guys, you are missing some great referential cool stuff that if you just let go,
let go of your mind.
Have you seen that? What he's talking about?
There's a couple things. There's also Rey in training on Octo earlier in the movie does moves similar to what Kylo does with Luke at the end. And I don't know if Ryan has come out and confirmed or denied that. He might have just left that one, but it's hard to look at it and not think that it was intentional. Every move she does on that rock is what Kylo does at one point or another with Luke, the Force vision.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Well, let me do a quick scroll here again. We'll do another one of these.
I feel like Ryan was very intentional with everything he did in a very thoughtful manner, and that's probably the single most. I always come back to The Last Jedi because it really has become one of my favorites because I think partially because of the controversy. I mean, it's got us talking about Star Wars.
Look, and here's the thing: I will never take away anyone's ability to not like something.
Of course, absolutely.
I'm never going to do that, and there's some of the treatment of some of the cast and some of the things. But, I do feel there are times when I'll hear some things where I'm like, man, I just wish you would watch it again and open up your mind and see what's there versus, hey, if you just don't like it, you just don't like it.
Yeah.
And that's not a fight where I want to get into, number one, and two, I'm going to win because that's your personal opinion. Right. But I just do think Ryan took his time and put a lot of things in there. But
those are people who aren't spending enough time loving what they love.
Paul, that's what drives me in media now. That's why I'm here, because I think, and you guys, I've seen you now for a number of years. So we ran into each other first around the Schmoes No Face 3 era, and you guys in your fun show before. Like, you can have fun. We can take shots at Aquaman. We can have some fun. And there's some things in Solo I don't like. But we live in this time of digital media where, here's Star Wars. Here's 100 sins of the thing that you shouldn't. Ding, 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 ding. Why do that to me? And I'm not saying Cinema Sins, which has an actual channel that does that. That's not their intention initially. I don't think initially. I've met Chris and Jeremy, and I don't think they did set out to do that. But now everyone decides to watch movies like that. And what is the fun in that, man? I love Star Wars. Look at these memories we've had. I want to celebrate it, including the silly stupid thing.
And the new memories and all the personal memories. I mean, I'll probably tell this story again, but when we get to it. But I have a very specific personal memory to Force Awakens, a couple of them, and one of them is I took my daughter to see Force Awakens because I was like, I wanted her to see this female, this heroine. I wanted her to get this in her spirit, and I wanted her to see Star Wars in this way. Yeah. And I took her, and I remember Kylo. And I forget. You forget as an adult, like in the very beginning, he's slicing someone in half, and all this like terrifying, like murdering all these people. And literally every time something scary happened, I just pulled out a red vine, and I just lean over, and go, red vine.
I need that for when my girlfriend wants to watch horror movies, because I get scared really easily. I'll just like, honey, feed me a red vine.
So, but I mean, it's the new memories too. I mean, it's that kind of stuff. It's experiencing it with friends and family and all of those things that make it beyond just a cultural phenomenon. And
but it's fun. And again, to your point, that's do you love this stuff? Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Even if you don't, go love what you do.
Go love what you do.
Yeah. You're better off focusing your energy in that direction.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about comedy or parody or anything. We're all in the comedy and entertainment business too, but I mean, I'm talking about this stuff. Yeah, that's where I come from.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Real quick, one more.
Okay.
Number 73, The Myth of Luke Skywalker. What scene is this?
This is from Force Awakens. This is where Rey and Finn first meet on Jakku. And great stuff. You know, he's got Poe's jacket and everything. But there's this moment where he says something about, I got to get some plans. It's the droid has some plans to find Luke Skywalker, and she kind of does the whole. She whips her head back and is like, Luke Skywalker. I thought he was a myth. And I just love Daisy Ridley in the beginning. I love her all through the movies, but in the beginning of Force Awakens, her first few. The first hour or so, she's just so great. And John Williams himself said, I came back because of Daisy Ridley. I saw the stuff, and I said, I do not want anyone else to write music for that character. He said that at the Hollywood Bowl 2 years ago. I was seeing it, and he played Rey's theme.
I know he was very much. I might have been at that concert, actually.
Were you there?
I remember when he said something.
He opened
about
with
her.
Hook that night.
Yeah.
And he said that. And he said, I love this character.
I think I was there.
Wait a second. Why were we not
unusual.
sitting together?
I'm sitting here like that's unusual.
Guys, we were all there together.
I remember them playing Hook. Going, good for you, doubling back on Hook.
It is that moment because I loved it. I remember looking at it and thinking, well, that's cool because, hey, Luke Skywalker is a myth. Then I love how it ties to the ending of Force Awakens. So they're kind of connected.
Yeah.
But this is this girl from nowhere. Whether or not JJ decides she's Palpatine's niece or some weird thing, I don't know. And I'd be excited to see what he comes up with. But there's this girl left on a desert planet who literally counts down the days, and she dreams of getting away. But really, in truth, she doesn't want to because she's stuck here by her routine, her safety, her waiting for someone that's never going to come or somebody, or parents that are never going to come. And so she's attached to this myth, and she believes she has no place in the story. And that's what that moment is, number 73. It's her loving, knowing, and being disbelieving of this myth. I thought he was a myth. You're saying he's real. Flash forward to the end of the movie where she is literally crawling, walking, traveling up the stairs, and it's not a myth. You're there standing in front of it because you're part of the story, and that's a very powerful thing for me in the character and young fans, boys and girls alike, who are watching this character. And so to me, it sets up that ending.
I got to tell you, what I got to read of your book, I love, and you demonstrate it just in all of that. I mean, your spirit, your passion for it, but it's just very heartfelt. It's very honest, and it's awesome.
A lot of people out there will say Disney's paying us good money to have these opinions, and I wish because I could use the money. But nah, man, I love this stuff.
Yeah, I do
stuff.
too. And by the way, to your point, I love Daisy. I think she is just magnificent, and I actually think she's maybe the best actor in any of the Star Wars movies. I think she has some hard stuff to do, not just the physical stuff, but there's a lot of emotional things within a fight. I mean, there's all kind of like subtext, and I think
she's key to the success of this franchise returning. There's a lot of factors, but she's one of the keys because we meet this character early on, and I could watch the stuff on Jakku over and over just because her making her own little food and working so hard to get a portion of food. I love all that stuff, and I think I love Adam Driver and Last Jedi a little bit more than Ray. But again, I mean, you're choosing between things I love.
Yeah,
but
something great and something awesome,
and I can't wait. And I can't wait to see how they bring it home.
Yeah. Me too.
Well, you can jump on Amazon and read the intros, and you get $199 and $98 for free, just to kick you off. And, of course, listening to the other ones he talked about here, we're sold.
Yeah.
You can read about the Blockade Runner blaster fight. That started everything off, right?
Yeah.
C-3PO returns and Punch It Chewie, which is anything with Han. I'm a fan. So check that out. Lastly, I'll just say the movie Trivia Schmodown still going strong, and you're highly involved. You've got the Pit Boss show, and you've got your what do you call that? The job when you're asking the questions, you're running it. You're the host.
We just say announcers.
Announcer for a number of events.
We do a little producing at the desk too, but not in terms of questions, but just like making sure everything's flowing smooth because we tape. We go live to tape. We've only had to cut a few times due to tech problems or near fist fights, but absolutely. And I'm so glad you were involved, man. You got a big match coming up.
Yes, this is fun. So please go check that out. Still going strong from I was probably being birthed right around the time that the movie guys and the Schmoes Know were sharing space on Toad Hop Network. All right, so Ken Napzok's Why We Love Star Wars: The Great Moments That Built a Galaxy Far, Far Away is available at Amazon and what was the other one I said?
Barnes & Noble,
BN.com.
Any place books are sold, if it's not there, ask them. They can order it.
And that's 4 movies down. 6 to go. Here on Countdown to 9. We'll be back the 15th of every month. Don't forget, the last show of our run will post 5 days before the release of episode 9. Once again, I'm Paul Preston.
I'm Sean Blodgett.
And Ken plugs where we follow you social and all that nonsense.
You can go follow me at Napzok or go to KenNapzok.com, and that'll take care of everything.
Nice.
There you go. And between episodes, check us out at Facebook.com/CountdownTo9, at CountdownTo9 on Twitter, Instagram, and everything else. And you get the show on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, and of course, themovieguys.net. Join us next month as we move forward into the Star Wars universe timeline to discuss Rogue One, another Star Wars story. Until then, Sean, I love you.
I know.